I needed some new school supplies, and my mom had given me a list of a few items she needed me to pick up for dinner. I'd only been in the store a few minutes when I noticed a couple of guys in dark clothing with baseball caps on. There was something about them that gave me an uneasy feeling in my stomach. They didn't have a cart or a basket and didn't even really seem to be shopping. They were just walking around, sort of people watching. My suspicion grew when I looked back over my shoulder and noticed both of the men staring at me. When we made eye contact, they quickly shifted their gaze and acted like they were busy doing something else. I continued with my shopping, making sure that they weren't following me. I was putting some detergent in my cart when all of a sudden I noticed one of the men in the next aisle over. His phone was pointed at me and it looked like he was taking a picture of me. I quickly turned away, feeling super creeped out. I just wanted to get the rest of the things I needed and leave. I was in the produce section, throwing some fruit into the cart, when I noticed the man from before yet again. His eyes were focused on me and he was talking on the phone. I wondered where the other guy he was with went. My heart began to pound as I thought of horrifying stories I had heard on the news about people getting kidnapped and disappearing forever. There were a few more things I needed to get, but at this point, I was uncomfortable enough that I decided to just leave and get the stuff another time. I went to the self-checkout and quickly rang up the items and paid. I looked around but didn't see the men anywhere around. I grabbed my bags and walked quickly to my car. I loaded my groceries and got inside, quickly locking it. When I was seated, I noticed something on my windshield tucked between my wiper blades. I was about to get out of the car to see what it was when I remembered a TikTok I once saw. In the video, a woman explained that putting things on windshields is often a way for human traffickers to get their prey by causing them to get out of the vehicle. I went with my gut instinct and quickly drove away. As I was going through the parking lot, I noticed a sketchy-looking white van not far from where my car had been parked. One of the men from before was sitting in the driver's seat. My jaw dropped as I realized I had nearly been kidnapped. When I got home, I filed a police report. They are still looking for the two men. This story happened few months ago. My friend was over and had to make a run to Walmart. It was about 9 p.m., not too late, but a time my mother normally wouldn't let me out and about at. But given that I was graduated, me being 18 and my friend being 19, my mom let us go. A quick plan to get garbage bags, something that should have taken 5 minutes tops, ended up taking half an hour. We got in, got the garbage bags and whatever else. During this time, I noticed that my friend was acting kind of weird, but I brushed it off. We were standing in line, ready to check out. My friend leans in close and says, "Hey, do you see that guy?" I glanced up but didn't know what she was talking about. I still feel really guilty about this for being too dumb to notice. We started walking away after checking out. Buying only garbage bags doesn't really take a lot of time. As we were leaving, though, she started to explain. There was some dude that had said hello and was being polite, so she said hi back. We then saw him at the checkout, too. Both of us being paranoid, naturally, we thought something might be up about it. We get in our car, and we see him in the parking lot again. No big deal yet, I suppose. Deciding to play it safe, we decided to wait until he left. Turns out he had a couple of guys with him. They pulled over on our left, leering at us through the car windows. It was nearly dead silent in the car, but I swear you could hear our hearts beating frantically. Even typing this up, I still get a panic. The car of guys quickly sped over, parking next to us. My friend immediately floored the car, pulling in reverse and speeding out of the parking lot, but the guys followed. We honestly thought we were going to die, whether it be from going 80 miles per hour or by a group of creepy dudes. We quickly sped out of there, making a turn on some random road, and the car of guys behind us at all times, going as fast as we were. At one point, they ended up passing us and waving, before pulling into a church parking lot ahead and turning around to get behind us again. At this point, we're still going 80 in a 35 and getting closer to my house. Neither of us wanted to lead the guys to our homes, so we thought fast. Near my house, there's a little store where you can buy cigarettes, alcohol, and candy. Pretty much a gas station, but without any gas pumps. We honed ass to the back of the store, parking and moving to head in through the back. One of the workers was outside in the back and approached us. All we had to say, and had time to say, was, "We're being stalked." Luckily, the guy understood exactly and started to go up front. We peeked around the corner, and lo and behold, the group of guys were there around front. My friend and I proceeded to sneak in through the back. Now in the back on the left side is the deli station, and the right side is where the alcohol is. My friend ducked into the deli station, and I hid out on the right side. There was a female worker in the deli, and my friend made a signal for her to be quiet. The female worker pretended we weren't there at all. After a couple of minutes pass, we hear the front door open. I peek around the corner, and it's one of the guys. I hide out in back, heart racing, hoping he doesn't come back here. Finally, a few more minutes pass, and the guy worker from before comes in through the back and tells us that the guys are finally gone. He chewed them out. Oddly enough, they flat out admitted to stalking us. When the guy worker pretended to be family, they quickly backed off, claiming they were only getting beer. Learned from the female worker that those guys are regulars and are always going on about creepy and sexist crap in Spanish, thinking she doesn't know. My friend and I ended up hanging out for a little bit, just to make sure the guys weren't hanging around on a street corner. When I was a teenager, my best friend and I were having a girls' night at our house. We were watching a movie and just hanging out. At around 11 p.m., we were both pretty hungry and in the mood for some junk food. There wasn't anything like that at the house, so we decided we would go to the only store open at the moment, Walmart. Because it was so late, we weren't surprised to see that there weren't many cars in the parking lot, and we were able to get ourselves a spot right near the entrance of the store. We walked inside and made our way directly to the chip section, which is towards the back of the store. We were trying to decide which ones we wanted when a man came up to us out of nowhere, causing us both to jump. He was standing so close to us that I felt the need to take a couple of steps back, just to put some space between us. He told us that he was a Walmart employee who was doing a customer service survey and asked us to participate. I remember thinking it was odd because he didn't have a Walmart logo anywhere on his clothing, and he wasn't even wearing a name tag. I told the man that we were actually in a hurry because it was late and we needed to get back home, but he was persistent and kept telling us how helpful it would be if we took the survey again. I told him no, and my friend and I hastily grabbed a few bags of chips before walking a different part of the store. We were in the frozen section looking through the different types of ice cream. All of a sudden, I could see the same man in the next aisle over watching us. This is a big store, and the chances of running into someone a second time without intending to were slim. I realized that he had followed us all the way from the other part of the store. At this point, I was creeped out and wanted to go home, but my friend still needed a few toiletry items, so I agreed to go with her to the shampoo section. As she was looking through the products, I was peeking in the surroundings, making sure the guy wasn't still following us. There was a slight gap in the rows of shampoo, allowing me to see through to the next aisle over. I peeked through the gap and was startled to see the same man before staring right at me. I gasped, then turned to my friend, grabbing her arm, telling her we needed to leave right now. She agreed, and we quickly paid for our things and went to the car. We drove directly back to her house, discussing how creepy the man had been. Once we got inside, we locked the door and went back to our movie. No more than 10 minutes went by when there was a knock at the door. We both looked at each other with confusion and fear. Who would possibly be at the door at this time of night unless there was some sort of emergency? We both approached the door and looked through the peephole. I gasped when I realized it was the same guy from before staring through the peephole back at me. My friend ran upstairs to wake her parents, and they came down quickly, clearly concerned that we were being stalked. Her dad went outside and walked around the house but couldn't find anyone. That was the last time we ever saw the man. When I was in high school, I would sometimes work weekend night shifts at the local Walmart. I know it sounds like not a very desirable job, but all I would do was stock the shelves. I didn't have to interact with the customers at all. Plus, I was allowed to listen to music on my headphones as long as I was doing my work and not slacking off. One night started off just like any other. Several really large shipments had come in and we were short-staffed. I knew I was going to have to work pretty quickly to get everything unloaded before my shift was over. As I worked, I was taking in my surroundings, something I knew was important as a younger girl in a nearly empty store. There were a few customers here and there, but they all seemed to move quickly, just picking up a few necessities and checking out. When I was in the electronic aisle, one particular individual caught my eye. It was a middle-aged man dressed in all black. He was checking out cell phones and some other technology items. He was taking his time, and I noticed he was going down the row, checking the price tag on each item. Normally, nothing about his behavior would strike me as weird, but it was the way he was shopping that made me suspicious. He kept looking over his shoulder every minute or so, as if he was trying to tell if anyone was watching him. I'm pretty short, so he didn't see me crouch down nearby, quietly loading shelves. I had a bad feeling about this guy, so I decided to keep an eye on him as I worked. I watched him pick up a digital camera and a few external hard drives. I had a hard drive for schoolwork, and I knew that the ones that he picked up were worth a couple $100s. He put the items in his shopping basket and continued moving throughout the store. I followed closely behind him, making sure not to make myself known. I watched as he then went into the men's restroom towards the back of the store. He carried the entire basket in with him, which is completely against the rules, but I decided to hold off before approaching him. I wanted to see what he was going to do next. The man was in the bathroom for a long time. Obviously, I couldn't go in after him, so I just stood outside waiting for him to come out. Around 15 minutes went by before he finally came out of the bathroom. His shopping basket was gone, and there was nothing in his hands. After he was a safe distance enough away, I ran into the bathroom he came out of to look around. The shopping basket was sitting in the last stall. It was empty. On a hunch, I walked over to the trash can by the sinks and looked inside. Laying under a couple of paper towels were the tags and security devices that the man had somehow removed from the electronics. Now I knew without a doubt what he was trying to do. I made my way quickly throughout the store looking around for the guy. I then noticed him near the front of the store. Instead of going towards the registers, he was heading toward the exit. I called out to him, telling him he was going to have to pay for the items in his pocket. He became quickly irate and approached me. His fists balled with a furious look on his face. He was yelling profanities and picking objects off the shelves and hurling them towards me. He even took a couple of swings, which I barely avoided. Luckily, we had a security guard on duty that night. When he heard the noise, he came running and snuck up on the guy, tackling him from behind and cuffing him. After that, I never worked another night shift.